Hey, I'm Alfred.
And I'm Chris.
It is Thursday, and of course, this is Why Wait Till Sunday. Probably a top 5 midweek DFS college football show. All right, we are at week 12, Chris. Good to see your face, but I am tired. This is a bit of a grind here coming down to the finish line.
Yeah, it's a grind. Each week we get some scrub who helps take down a GPP. So hopefully we can identify that scrub this week.
I'd love to identify that scrub. And in the interest of time, without further ado, let's pull up the slate here. Preparing for this already, I've noticed that DraftKings just freaking loves. Actually, it should be week 12, but it is week 12. DraftKings freaking just loves the Big Ten, and we're gonna have to talk about that. But first up, I'll let you go first. A lot of times I go first, and it ends up being that you get the crappy game. So I'm going to let you go first, and maybe it'll play out a little bit better. Take us through Wake Forest Clemson.
Yeah, so this is a pretty interesting matchup. The total here is 57, which is probably the highest Clemson total that we've seen. Wake Forest comes in with a really good offense. Clemson has really good defense. This is going to basically determine whether or not DJU is dust or not quite dust yet. So I'm really interested in this ACC showdown because I think Wake Forest is a better team, but Clemson is favored by 4.5 currently in the market. So there's some interesting plays in this game.
Yeah, I don't get the Clemson being favored, much less by 4.5. That is a fishy line to me for sure. I don't know if they know something we don't. Next is Iowa State at Oklahoma. This game was a lot more interesting before they both lost multiple games, including Oklahoma losing last week. It's a 61-point total with Oklahoma favored by 4. So the projected are Oklahoma 32, Iowa State 28. I think this could be high scoring. I've seen a number of people actually comment about this. Iowa's defense is pretty stout against the run, but they're leaky against the pass. We know Oklahoma cannot defend the pass whatsoever. That's not really ISU's strong suit, but Brock Purdy can put the ball in the air. So I think this could be a game to go over, in which case we would definitely want to at least think about some players from this game. How about Purdue at Northwestern? Another one of these like Big Ten games where it's kind of like, why bother?
Yeah, the total here is only 47.
Just like it wouldn't be that hard to just not put Rutgers,
right,
and Northwestern and Iowa on these slates. Like, just don't put those games on these slates.
Northwestern's applied team total is 18, so it's not like they're sexy, but actually there's some really interesting plays on Purdue, so I'm not going to dismiss this game entirely, but basically everything I'm interested in here is on the Boilermakers side.
Fair enough. I would tend to agree with you. FSU at Boston College. FSU don't look now, but they've kind of turned things around. They're 4-2 in their last 6 games. They've beaten UNC. They just took down Miami. I'm not ready to say they're like a good team, but they're certainly playing a lot better. At Boston College is a tough place to play, a tough place to score, and a tough place to win games. The total here is 54.5. Florida State, a slight dog, so the point totals come out to Boston College 28 versus FSU 26. Both of these teams with those point totals are near the bottom, certainly the bottom half of the slate. So I think at Boston College, just never a very fertile scoring environment. So probably not too interested, but we will keep it in mind. Texas at West Virginia. Texas, those who just lost to Kansas. What do we say? And Bijan Robinson, RIP, pour one out.
Yeah, losing Bijan this week sucks for Texas. They're 2.5 point dogs. I mean, I like to think that they're a better team than West Virginia, but who even knows at this point? This Texas team is um, in need of a makeover, basically. The total here is at least interesting. It's 56.5. I think the running game on each side is really where you want to target this matchup. To be honest, I think Letty Brown is interesting, and then Roshan Johnson, who's replacing Bijan, we think is the move. So even though this game is kind of gross from a college perspective, I think that there are some DFS plays that are at least worth considering.
All right. Michigan State at Ohio State. I think this is definitely going to be a game we put a lot of attention into. Point total 67.5. Ohio State, as per usual, has the highest point total on the slate at 43. Michigan State, surprisingly low point total, in my opinion, of only 24. Considering Ohio State, their pass defense is bad, real bad. Certainly bottom half. They allow a lot of plays. I kind of like Michigan State actually to be able to do some things through the air. So we'll be talking about this game probably a little bit more as the players come in. Rutgers at Penn State. What are you doing, DraftKings? I don't need Chris. Say what you want, but I don't know what there is to say.
There's nothing to say. The total here is 38.5, and both these defenses are at least solid.
38.5. Are you kidding? That's
sorry.
For...
I lied. It's 47. I was looking at the wrong game.
There's a game that's 38. Oh god.
Oh yeah, we'll get there later. I'm sure I have it.
I'm sure it's next. Next actually.
Probably. No, Rutgers has the third lowest implied team total on the slate. So I mean, there isn't much going on in this game outside
there's nothing you want at Penn State. I mean, I guess maybe Clifford. They can't run the ball.
Yeah, there's some options on the Penn State side. I think we'll talk about a little bit, but I mean, this is not a fun game.
All right. Next is Iowa, Illinois. That is the dreaded point total of 38.5. Illinois, according to the betting spread is over under 12.8. I actually saw at Stats O War, who's a very smart guy on Twitter, does a lot of EPA analytics for college football. He actually had Illinois projected for like 5.3 points or something like that in his analysis. So Illinois, don't even think about it. Iowa, I guess if you want to get cute and do like Goodson, but most likely this game is just why put on the slate. You don't. There's just better games. Like I don't even know who's watching Iowa, Illinois. I don't know. It's inexplicable. So just take us to Georgia Tech, Notre Dame. This one at least should have some offense.
Yeah. Notre Dame is favored by 17 here. The total's 59.5. I mean, this isn't a sexy game from like a player perspective, but we're probably going to need to find some value with Notre Dame because their implied team total's 36, 38.
I mean, 38. Georgia Tech's defense is just terrible, just absolutely dreadful.
Yeah. It's one of the worst passing defenses in the country, especially. So maybe we don't see game manager Jack. Maybe we see competent quarterback Jack kind.
Yeah. Nebraska at Wisconsin. God, why are you just stop putting these defensive teams on the slate? But Braylon Allen is absolutely fantastic. 17-year-old running back who has now rushed for 100 yards in like 4 straight games. Just an absolute beast. But other than that, probably not a lot going on here. You don't want to take anyone against the Wisconsin defense on the Nebraska side. And Wisconsin, you don't want anyone other than Braylon Allen. 42-point total, 25 implied for Wisconsin and 16 implied for Nebraska. So really not what we're looking for. Arkansas at Bama. This one should be a little more fun, Chris.
Yeah, Bama is favored by 21 here. They expect a lot of the scoring to be on the Crimson Tide side, so there's some value there. Arkansas only has an implied team total of like 18.75 points, so they're definitely lower on the slate, but Alabama's defense has been better in recent weeks, so I think this is an interesting matchup, and I think there's a couple plays that I like on the Alabama side, but Arkansas is probably not a team that I'm jumping to invest in this week.
SMU at Cincinnati, the token G5 game. I wish we there's no reason not to put a couple more of these G5 games, but Cincinnati certainly earned it. They're fighting for a spot in the playoff. 65-point total. Cincinnati favored by 10.5, so theirs is 37.5, whereas SMU comes in at only 27. But SMU is one of the more explosive, pass happy offenses in the whole country. Can they get over on the Cincinnati defense? That is a interesting question for this week, because I bet you'll get them at unpopular rostership for the SMU Mustangs. But do you want to do it against that Cincinnati defense? And we can look at that later. So then you've got Virginia at Pitt, which is a lot less fun without Brennan Armstrong. Do we know if he's playing?
I am acting and assuming that he is playing based on the news that I've heard out of Virginia this week. It sounds like he's probably going to give it a shot, even if he's a little bit banged up. So it does add some excitement to the game. I don't know what his true health status is. Even if he does play, Pitt is favored by 14.5. That line, I think that line assumes that Armstrong isn't playing or isn't playing at full strength. So, we might find some value in Virginia this week. But again, with DFS, everybody's going to have that same information. And so you basically take the risk with Brennan Armstrong, whether or not you want to. I think he'll be probably not highly rostered. So that might be a good leverage play, even though, he's very priced up this week. So you're taking a risk.
That's pretty tough. Yeah.
Interesting game.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett's the poster boy for the show here. I figured he's earned it. And when you're going against Virginia, there's a good chance Pickett goes for like 40 points. Virginia's defense is just bad. Michigan at Maryland. Gross, man. What are we doing? How many Big Ten games we got? Michigan, Maryland, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, Rutgers, Penn State, Michigan State, Ohio State. That's 5. Purdue, Northwestern. That's 6. On a freaking 14-game slate, half of them are Big Ten. What are we doing, DraftKings? What are we doing?
I don't know.
Anyway, I'll stop. I know I've really beat that to the ground here, but I don't care about Michigan, Maryland. I don't care about it as a game. I don't care about the players very much. Michigan, as we've said, it doesn't matter how high their team total is. They do not produce fantasy-friendly games. Maybe I take that back. Hassan Haskins with no Blake Corum, we'll look into him. But that'll do it for the slate. Let's get on into the actual players themselves. And as we do, start with quarterbacks. Sam Hartman is now the most expensive player of the whole year, I believe, at 10-3. Is that right? I don't think we've seen anyone over 10-2.
Yeah, I don't. So
against
I'm not
the Clemson
playing.
Defense.
Yeah, I'm not playing him this week. Clemson has a really good defense. Like legitimately,
that's the one thing they can do. Yeah.
Yeah, like a really, really good defense. He needs to be like $1,000 cheaper.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, I am not playing him this week. There are people who might, or he might just be really low rostered with that assumption that Clemson sucks, and maybe he goes off. So he might be an interesting game theory play, but he is not somebody that I want to play this week. Just on the data.
I'm not interested at all for 10-3. Are you kidding me? No way. Brennan Armstrong, we touched on him already. Health is the question. I think if he honestly at 10,000, even if he's healthy, I'm not sure I want him against Pitt at Pitt. Also, not even at home at Pitt. So I think the top 2 quarterbacks are actually priced very odd, and I'm not interested. Caleb Williams after a stinker. What are you thinking about him? Or do you like him coming off a bit of a stinker last week and a loss? Are they going to bounce back?
I don't know. It's not the easiest matchup in the world is really my concern. Iowa State is pretty good.
And I
I
think
just
their
have a hard.
pass defense is better than their run defense. So if
Yeah,
Oklahoma wants to take advantage of the weakness, they're going to have to run, which they can't really do. So it's kind of like going to be Oklahoma's potential weakness on ISU's strength.
yeah. I don't love Caleb Williams this week. There are better options that are a little bit cheaper. I don't
Yeah.
really love Oklahoma right now. I have a lot of questions about that team.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, how are they going to handle the adversity from last week is obviously something we'll have to see play out. Okay, the next three, I'm kind of interested in all of them. The next four, really. You've got Bryce Young, Kenny Pickett, CJ Stroud, and Desmond Ritter against SMU. And we have not been playing a lot of Desmond Ritter this year, but against SMU, maybe do we unleash Desmond Ritter? I mean, these are four quarterbacks. I'm pretty happy with all of them. I mean, the fact that you don't even have to pay a premium, they're like priced at QB 4, 5, 6 on the slate. What's your favorite out of this quartet, or are you moving elsewhere even cheaper?
My favorite play is CJ Stroud.
Love it. You have
Yeah,
to.
yeah. I mean, Michigan State's pass defense is really bad. They allow 15.1% explosive pass rate, which is bottom 31. They're at 99th, so bottom 31 in the country. So their defense can really give up some explosive plays. My second favorite is Bryce Young. I just think that he's solid all around. The only worry that I have is that they're going to rely on the run game a little bit more. I'm just a little bit scared off of Desmond Ritter. I know that he's producing fine.
He's
hate
fine. He's not great with this matchup. I mean, does this matchup get you on him?
I mean, he's in the same tier as two guys I like more, so not necessarily. But it's a bad matchup. Like, I think you can play him. It's just if you're making a bunch of lineups, yes. If you're only making a couple lineups, probably not.
So he's not a target necessarily.
Yeah.
What about Pickett versus Virginia? I mean, are we interested there? I guess. Are they going to run on them? I think they're going to let Pickett chuck it around.
Yeah, I think we're always interested in him. He's just been so productive.
Yeah.
Virginia's defense is just bad all around. I mean,
so
I like
bad.
everybody in Virginia this week.
Yeah, it's like an auto start.
Yeah.
Okay, then you kind of move down past like all the backups. You've got KJ Jefferson versus Bama.
Nope.
I don't love it, but I mean, if you want to do a small play and a GPP, he's not going to be rostered at all, and he does have 30-point upside. I know it's Bama, but like with the running, he can run 2 in, and it's certainly worth thinking about. But like you said, he's way down the list of likely outcomes. Man, we love Adrian Martinez, but can't play him against Wisconsin. Jordan Travis is really good. I love Jordan Travis for fantasy. I played him a lot last week. He won me some money against Miami. That turned out really nice for me. His last game, he scored how many DraftKings points? I think he pushed 30. It was sorry, this is bad. Where's the points? I don't know.
He scored a good amount.
Yeah, he scored really nice. And he's 7,000. I think he was 5,900 last week, so he's a little bit priced up. It's against Boston College, who's good defensively, but he's run so much. I mean, I love getting the dual threat with Jordan Travis. Yeah. Peyton Thorne at 7K. I like him too. Ohio State's vulnerable to the pass. We just talked about Brock Purdy. Iowa State, Oklahoma can't defend the pass at all. So those are 3 guys all at 7K that I like quite a bit.
Yeah, I like all those as well. I'm gonna go a little bit cheaper here and give you some names I like.
Are you still on Aiden O'Connell? Am I gonna have to hear about Aiden O'Connell for like the 5th week in a row?
Yeah.
Why won't they increase his price?
I don't know. Northwestern's pass defense is actually good, but I don't know if that's a product of like game script and like teams not.
No one has to throw on them.
Yeah, so I'm cool with Aiden O'Connell this week. We've talked about this, and this is kind of where we're at in the season. Phil Jurkovich, depending on like what pronunciation you prefer, is 4,500 this week.
That's
Like,
insane.
this is malpractice. He's played the
It
last
is.
2 games. Like, come on, DraftKings, seriously. We just
And he was good last week. He ran it in. What, he had 2 rushing or 3 rushing
he had a
touchdowns
phenomenal
last
game
week?
last week, and
That's
I just
insane. Someone's asleep.
yeah, it's just an insult to our intelligence, basically, to be pricing him like that. He's basically going to be the most popular player on the slate for me because of that. So I just,
Mhm.
it's just, I mean, I would be remiss if we didn't mention him. It's just frustrating,
Can you
honestly,
afford
more than
not to
anything.
play him is the question, I guess. I mean, you might
Yeah,
not be able to avoid it.
you can not play him in a GPP and say, listen, I'm just gonna fade him and assume Garwo goes off and hopefully get leverage on the field. But he's gonna be I think he's gonna be the highest rostered player this week.
Has to
I
be.
have
Yeah.
really no doubt about
Yeah, it's
that.
just because of the pricing. It's basically a
Yeah,
pricing error. I mean, it's not
yeah,
even.
it is, which is it's incredibly frustrating.
I mean,
To be honest.
Tate Rodemaker for FSU, who has not, I don't think, taken a snap this year, is 5,800. Like, this was just a mistake.
Yeah, no,
I do
it's
also like. I mean,
frustrating.
if you're not going to go Djokovic, I think another cheap guy that I like a lot against Rutgers is Sean Clifford. I think
Yep.
Clifford can be pretty good when the competition is bad and Rutgers is bad. I mean, they're just a bad team. They're like okay at defense, I suppose, with their whole chop wood culture and everything like that at Rutgers, but it's
Keep
away from Rutgers.
keep chopping.
Chopping wood. Yeah. I just think they're like, I'm not scared of Rutgers. But again, you don't need to play Clifford because you can play Djokovic. So that's just a mistake. I mean, I don't see.
And
Yeah.
I
Okay.
I'll be honest, I like
Who?
Clifford this week as well. He was
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Clifford. Yeah, he was my last guy I was going to bring up. So
I mean, you could
I
go Clifford and Djokovic and then just like literally every other player you want.
yeah. So let me say this. To win a GPP, you don't have to be different everywhere. So if you want to play Djokovic, you can, but you have to be different somewhere. Clifford
Mm-hmm.
probably isn't going to make you that different, but there are other plays in this slate that will, and I think we can kind of talk about them later. But you don't have to avoid Djokovic, whatever. I don't even know how to say his name. I've heard different pronunciations, but you can still play him and get different and do a couple different things. You just need to make sure that you are differentiating yourself and not playing like just be cognizant of that basically. Like, just
Yeah.
understand that you have to like take a risk elsewhere is the bottom line.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's good. All right, running back. I didn't even do our little title here. Running backs. Brees Hall against Oklahoma, 9,400. I really like Brees Hall always. You can never go wrong. Oklahoma's run defense has been pretty dang good all season. You also have Kenneth Walker going up against Ohio State's run defense, who's been also good. That's, it's strength on strength here for both of these teams, running the ball against a good run defense. Do you want to pay the premium? If you're all cheap at quarterback, you're gonna have to spend it somewhere. Do you want to spend it here?
Not this week. I think Oklahoma's front seven is probably better than Iowa State's. Iowa State's front seven is faltered in good matchups. So I don't really want to play Brees this week. I think he's just a little too pricey. So I think there's a lot of risk in his price, basically.
Yeah. Same with Kenneth Walker to me. Although
Yep,
he was pretty good
absolutely.
against Michigan, of course, but I think Michigan State's gonna. Ohio State's basically a pass funnel. They're so much worse against the pass. It's almost no point in running the ball. Now, I picked up on a podcast today. Apparently, Mel Tucker is quoted as saying that getting in a shootout makes him want to vomit. So maybe they try to go with this, like, speed up the game, stop, just like run the ball, let the clock run. I think it's actually a misnomer when people say they want to slow down the game by running the ball. That actually speeds the game up, speeds the clock up, shortens the game. So anyway, I don't love that. Brian Robinson against Arkansas. I guess I
It's
never want to
fine.
play Brian Robinson. Like, what's wrong with me? I just like never want to play him. I don't know why. He's like the guy now. I mean, they're not going to give it to anyone else
Yeah.
really.
No, I don't know. He's not a sexy name, and I think they're just better values. So, but he's fine. Like I think he's going to get you 20 to 25 points, but I don't think he has like GPP winning upside. Is the bottom line. Like you want to play him in
No,
cash? I
and
think he's a
we
great
do.
cash play.
Yeah, and we do play a lot of GPPs, so just like be aware of that when we're talking about stuff. Arkansas, if they have a strength on defense, it is the run. I kind of do think that like it'll be the Bryce Young show again. Bijan, RIP, love you. Get well soon. Braylon Allen against Nebraska, you gotta like it. They didn't even increase his price that much after he went for 3 touchdowns last week. I mean, he was like 82, now he's 86. They want to feed this guy 25 carries. He even got a 25-yard reception last week, I think. He's all you want in a bell cow, and you don't even have to pay $9K.
Nebraska has okay defense. That's the problem that I
They're
have. Like
okay. Yeah, they're not a total pushover,
but
but
they're best on the run. Like they rank 18th, 19th in explosive rush rate and 26th in defensive EPA per rush attempt. So like, I think there's a risk that Allen goes for like 100 and a touchdown, which that's
right.
not obviously not a bad game, but like it's not a game that you need to again take down a GPP, which is I think our goal in a lot of these conversations. So
That's
he's
true. I mean,
fine.
that's a great point. Yeah. Trevor and Henderson, again, I mean, it's just kind of like the Michigan State run defense. If they have a strength, it's their strength. You want to play a running back against the strength. Now, the nice thing about Henderson is he's going to catch 3 or 4 passes probably. So, he can beat you in multiple ways. I don't have a problem with it. I guess it's just it's not optimal. To me, optimal might be like a couple of the next few guys here. Jerome Ford, I don't know, is he going to play? He
I
did
don't
not play
I
against
don't
South
know.
Florida. They might want him. I mean, they may have held him out because it was South Florida.
Yeah, this is
I
a
don't know.
big
I mean,
game
it's
for
hard to
them.
say if he. I hate. I mean, I just fade college injuries. Like you don't know. Even if he gets dressed, maybe he's a 50-50. If they're up comfortably, maybe they're not going to play him because they know they'll need him should they make the playoffs. I probably would not mess with Jerome Ford myself. I really like Kyron Williams against Georgia Tech just because it's Georgia Tech. I really like Hassan Haskins against Maryland because it's Maryland. So those are 2 guys that you don't have to pay the super premium, but I think you can get really nice production, 20 plus touches, multiple touchdown upside. I mean, Haskins got 3 touchdown upside as any of
Yeah,
these guys. He's got as much upside as any of these guys.
for sure. No, he does.
With Core, I mean, as
Um,
long as Corum's out, which I think he is still going to be out.
yeah, I haven't seen that he's going to play this week.
Um, we like those guys. Kyron Williams catches 4 or 5 passes a game. Haskins has 3 touchdown upside for the Michigan offense. But then after that, Brooks, Josh Corbin for against Boston College again. Don't love it. Will Shipley against Wake Forest. No for you. Okay.
Yeah, Wake Forest is actually not horrible against the rush, but I like Corbin. Um, to be honest, Boston College is pretty weak against the rush, so I think that he's pretty
He's
interesting.
just
The same reason I
not.
like Jordan Travis.
Yeah, I do like Jordan Travis better than. I mean, Corbin just like doesn't seem to have those like big games in him. I mean, he's like 85
Yeah,
and a touchdown, but maybe like a Braylon Allen, like what we thought Braylon Allen would do. Now it is less money than Braylon Allen, but yeah, Boston College actually pretty bad against the run actually. So that's a good point there. Oh man, Letty Brown is
yes, that's my
really
favorite.
cheap.
He's my favorite running back play this week.
He's so cheap.
I
And
don't get
Texas
it.
can't stop the run. Texas
I don't get
sucks.
it. I don't get it.
Oh,
Yeah,
jackpot.
yeah,
6,200.
yeah. I don't understand it. I love Letty Brown this week. He is
Yeah,
my
dude.
favorite. He is my favorite running back play by probably a long shot, to be
That's a
honest.
yeah, that's a no-brainer. That's a
Yeah,
no-brainer.
it
All
is.
right, anybody else? Anybody else cheaper? I mean, I think we both concur Letty Brown's the jam this week for sure. Uh,
I have a couple. I think Roshan Johnson is interesting. West Virginia has a pretty good rushing defense, but he is going to be the bell cow. The assumed bell cow in Bijan's absence. So I mean, I do think that he's worth a stab at 3,800. 3,800. Xander Horvath at Purdue. He came back last week, is his first action back, but I think he's going to be healthier this week. And Northwestern is a bottom 5 team against the rush. He's 3,400. I think he's probably going to outtouch the King, King Doru. So I really like Xander Horvath at 3,400 this week. I think you can get some really, really nice leverage with
yeah,
him. And I think Israel Abanikanda is another guy that I really, really like this week. It's just a really good matchup for him, and he's kind of taken hold of the backfield in terms of being the RB1. So,
yeah.
and he's priced down. He's 5,300. So I think that Abanikanda is getting a bottom 10 to 5 rushing defense. And 5,300 is a great price for him. So there's some good cheap running backs in this slate, I think.
Man, it's like, how do you choose?
Uh,
All right, yeah, I like Abanaconda because he definitely when he's not going to necessarily give you 20 carries, but he will catch 3 to 4 passes, which you're basically going to get 20 touches for 5,300 against a bad defense. I mean, that's tough to beat, man. Haskins, Williams, Brown, freaking Abanaconda. Like I like a lot of these plays here. So we like a lot of discount quarterbacks. We like a lot of discount running backs. Do we pay up for receivers? Let's move on to those guys. Dotson, probably have no problem with Dotson. I mean, a Dotson Clifford stack is kind of appealing against Rutgers.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, he's just dominating really like that
Yeah.
Penn State target share. I mean, he's just running away with it far and away. And so with 46 targets over his last 30 games, I mean, you just basically write him off and say, okay, he's going to get 12 game. Just see what you can do with it. And that's where Rutgers is the weakest. So I think he's absolutely in play, just 100%.
Yeah. I don't really want either Wake Forest receiver against Clemson, like we already talked about. I mean,
Yeah.
Clemson's defense is just too good to pay the premium here.
Yep.
Dontavian Wicks at Pitt. I don't think I like anyone on Virginia really against Pitt. I mean, especially if Brendan Armstrong isn't 100%, but even if he is, again, it's a premium against a really good defense. Smith and Jigba is interestingly the most expensive Ohio State receiver, and maybe with good reason. The guy's leading the team in yards, receptions. I mean, it's wild. A true sophomore dominating a room with 2 other first round draft picks potentially. But I do probably want an OSU receiver. I guess the question is
Yeah.
which one do you want, Smith Jigba, or do you want I mean, look how low priced Garrett Wilson's down at 6,800 and Olave's at 64.
I think I want Garrett Wilson to
I
be
mean, we've stand Garrett
honest.
Wilson all
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, I'm playing Garrett Wilson of this trio. I think Chris Olave is the wide receiver 3 there currently. I think Wilson is probably the wide receiver 1. I mean, he did miss a game with a concussion, so
That's right.
he's been I mean he got knocked out of the game. So he's still the guy that I think I want, and that you're getting a $1,100 discount off JSN. So I think he's the guy you want here.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. And then Jameson Williams has been actually amazing for for Bama. Speaking of Ohio State wide receivers, I mean, he comes in from Ohio State and transfers to Bama, and I thought he'd be an afterthought. And he's like their wide receiver one over Mechie almost. So pretty wild. Do you want him against Arkansas?
Why not?
I mean,
yeah. At this point, like, why not just play him? Like, Arkansas's pass defense is fine. They're like, it doesn't tell the same story necessarily. Like, they're limiting opponents to 167 pass yards, but this is like a 30 to 40th ranked pass defense in terms of success rate and like EPA. So I'm not scared off by them, but I mean, I absolutely think you could play Jamison Williams. I have no issue doing so this week.
Yeah. Alec Pierce against SMU. I mean, again, I don't know. I don't know what to do with Cincinnati offensive pieces, even against SMU. I think they'll probably be chalky because people are just going to want SMU. It might be a reasonable strategic fade, to be honest, because everyone's going to see SMU and just think it's jackpot city. Xavier Hutchinson against Oklahoma is certainly very interesting. Although I may go like Kohler. I think I want a piece of the Cyclones versus that atrocious Oklahoma pass defense.
I'm on the other side of that. I don't want anyone in the Iowa State passing game.
Really?
I talked about this on the tailgate, but Oklahoma should have all of their missing pieces. So they were missing 5 pieces from their secondary over the last like 6 or 7 weeks. And they should have them all back this week. They got like 5 of them back last week, and it showed. Like, they shut down Baylor's passing offense. So I think that Oklahoma, what's the opposite of a paper tiger? Like a marble, a marble.
Dove?
I don't know. Yeah, like a marble dove. I think that they are.
You're here for. Yeah, that's wild. Okay, well, no, I think that's not unreasonable. I like that angle for sure. I guess I had it wrong. Just maybe Oklahoma comes back and looks like a great pass defense. I mean, we gotta. Oh gosh, I mean, it's like let's see, Mechie. I think 7,400 isn't really what I want to do for him. David Bell against Northwestern. I mean, gotta like that.
Absolutely, he's underpriced. I mean, he has the highest upside of any wide receiver on the slate.
Yeah, and he's kind of been underpriced.
No, he has, absolutely. And Northwestern's passing defense ranks
is okay.
High, but we talked about that. We talked about that earlier with Sean Clifford. Like, it's more of a product of the game scripts that they've been playing it.
Mm-hmm. Xavier Worthy coming off 3 touchdowns. I mean, the kid's awesome. He's a true freshman, just playing out of his mind. I wouldn't have a problem with it, but I don't think he's a target. Burks always a threat for 30 points just because he can like break huge, explosive plays. But I think Bama, if you lock down one person on Oklahoma on Arkansas, I mean, you lock down Burks. Zay Flowers, if you like Jerkovich, would you stack with Flowers? That makes a lot of sense. And was it last week he went off or 2 weeks ago? He was great recently.
I mean, he's been good the last 2 weeks.
Well, he only had 2 catches, but both were touchdowns. He went 2 for 87 and a touchdown last week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm playing him. It's a different offense right now, so I like him, and he's under 7K. I think that's a pretty good value. He's 23 targets in his 23 targets in his last 3 games, and none of the other starting wide receivers have more than 4. That kind of tells.
And if you're going to play Jerkovich, I mean, it makes sense. Although you're playing Jerkovich not necessarily to stack, just because he's freaking 4,500. Yeah, I mean, Jaden Reed's interesting at 6,500. I think that's a pretty cheap price for him, especially against an Ohio State defense that can be had through the air. I think it's interesting. I mean, it's just I don't know. Man, he's coming off 8 for 114 and 2. Like, he's so good. I think he's like really a good player. They're gonna have to throw. I think. Don't you think so?
Yeah.
But would you rather Garrett Wilson or Jaden Reed? I mean, they're similar price point.
A lot of it's going to depend on whether or not Jalen Naylor plays this week,
Mm,
because he's missed the last couple games. So
that makes sense. Yep, that's true.
yeah, if Naylor doesn't play, then I'm probably going Reed. But I'm assuming he does. It sounds like he will. So I prefer Garrett Wilson. But I mean, I think you can play. I still think you could play Jaden Reed, because I think he's the preferred run back in this situation because Ohio State's pass defense is still not quite gotten it together. But I like, in terms of that question, who do I prefer? I think I still prefer Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, me too. All right. Anybody else as you go super deep? I have a very deep play. I guess you already mentioned Horvath when we were talking about running backs at 3,400 against Northwestern. I mean, that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, I really like that one. Parker Washington at 4,000, I think is really interesting. 22 targets in his last 3, so he's definitely getting the volume that we want to see. I don't really trust the Rutgers pass defense. I think that's their weakest unit. They're giving up an explosive pass rate of 30.6% and yards per pass attempt at 8.38. Both bottom 20 or both bottom 30 numbers. So I like him as a leverage play off of Dotson. I like Michael Young Jr. at Cincinnati. SMU secondary is probably like one of the worst in the country, and I don't want to pay all the way up for Alec Pierce, who's 7,600. So at 3,600 cheaper, I like Michael Young. He has 12 targets to Pierce's 18 in the last 3, so I think that he's probably the wide receiver 2 there. And if you think this game could be high scoring, and it's our third highest total on the slate, then I think that he's somebody that you can get at 4K and maybe pay off a little bit. Last one I really like is Jared Wayne, and he's 4,300. He has 24 targets in his last 3 games. Jordan Addison's obviously the wide receiver 1 here, and I like Addison this week as well. But Wayne at 4,300 is definitely the leverage play off of Addison. If we think that Brennan Armstrong is going to play, again, second highest game total on the slate. So Jared Wayne's a guy I have a lot of interest in if we think that Armstrong's going to play and this game could go a little bit back and forth.
Yeah. I really like Addison. It's hard not to play him because he's not that priced up. Just messing around, I built the lineups: Clifford, Haskins, Letty Brown, Dotson, Wilson, Addison, Horvath, Jerkovich, and that leaves you with $0 left on the table. So even with Clifford and Jerkovich, I mean, you still got to make some decisions. Dotson's the most expensive receiver, but you really can't have everybody, even with the super cheap quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
But that's pretty nice. I mean, the other guys you can flip in and out would be like, maybe you don't go, for instance, if you've got this kind of backbone of your lineup, would you want Haskins in there? Or would you flip out Haskins for like Abanikanda and then, pay up Horvath to somebody else? Because you could save 2,300 off Haskins if you go Abanikanda instead.
I actually think I'd rather pay Abanikanda like straight up than Haskins. So yeah, I agree with that. And Horvath does have risk. Like, I don't want to act like he doesn't, because he did not get the
more. Oh yeah, I mean, he might not get 2 touches.
Yeah. But at his price, I really like him. But you don't have to be playing him. Like, he's not a priority target. He's just a guy you can target to save a little bit of dough. So I think what you said there, like, you can pivot and pay up and maybe get a little bit better of an option. I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking here to see. I don't know where you can move up to, but anyway, well, that should do it for us. We will be live on Saturday morning. Don't forget to check into the tailgate. We'll give you new ideas we've come up with over the course of the week as we go through some Chris and I are both gonna be talking about some lines and some prize picks. And as we kind of go through that, it kind of colors a little bit more of what we think about the DraftKings slate as well. So we will have new ideas on Saturday morning as we work through this slate a little bit. So tune in for that. Follow campus2canton.com. We'll tweet out when we're live. And then also check out all the good written stuff we have on the website if you haven't already. Yeah, I mean, without further ado, I guess that's me. I'm Alfred.
And I'm Chris, and I'm interested in winning money.
And this was Why Wait Till Sunday.